I want you to really ask yourself, do you know what everything is? Would you be comfortable taking a technique from your kata and trying to do that in full contact? Hello and welcome. My name is Quinn, and welcome to my karate podcast video channel, whatever this is. This video is either an introduction or an explanation or an apology, one of the three, for the videos I'm making on this, on the kata in karate and the viewpoints I have with bunkai and, application and usefulness of modern kata. My main goal here, I guess, is to share my experiences, my discoveries, my methods of training when it comes to karate. I have taught karate both professionally and privately, and just with my friends and my students have uncovered, just through experimentation, what I feel are really good and practical uses for traditional kata. But first, before we get too much further, let's set the stage. Why? Why is it that karate seems so mysterious? Why is that even seasoned karate guys don't understand the movements of their art? And what are kata? What were their original purpose and why are they still valuable today? I want to show you that not only the reason for kata and karate to exist historically, I want to show you that karate holds the keys to effective full contact fighting and self-defense. I think it's important to understand the perspective of old karate masters and to consider movements of each kata to have exact intended purpose. Let's think about this, okay? If you were a hardened martial artist teaching some young ruffians how to fight or, defend themselves, you would not give them a random set of esoteric movements. You'd give them a set of proven techniques because this is the olden days before the internet or even widespread literacy. You need to give them a way to remember these techniques to practice later. So what is the solution? Kata. You take your techniques and you string them together into a routine that can be memorized and reviewed later. From the routine, the karateka can then extract their techniques individually and practice them. No one needs to write them down, draw pictures, photograph, or video them. They can easily be shared between individuals. Let's take that a step further now. What if you had an entire library of martial arts knowledge and experience that you wanted to pass down to new fighters? How do you keep it organized, consistent, and practical to transfer? You take multiple kata, each containing their own set of useful skills, and teach those to up-and-coming karate guys. Of course, this is just my speculation. I wasn't there 100 years ago, or hundreds, plural, years ago. But I've come to this conclusion just by putting myself into the shoes of the teacher. And from this belief, I've constructed my own methods of reading kata and using its embedded knowledge to further my martial arts training. Okay. I want to emphasize that this is only the beginning. This is only the introduction to what I plan on creating. I want to take each kata from traditional karate and show you exactly the purpose for every single movement. I want to show you techniques that are realistic and that can be applied in full contact sparring. Nothing esoteric or mysterious, just real, dirty, practical, reliable fighting technique. As of right now, I'm prepared to do several of the kata. I've already done a video on Empi, or Wanshu, and I've done one on Jion. I want to eventually do a Kanku Dai and Kanku Sho, or Kushanku, for depending on what style you're in. Teki or Nihonchi, that whole series. The Basai Dai, Basai So, Pasai, branches. Looking at, I really, really like Rohai. Actually, that might be my next one, especially like, what is it called? Matsumura Rohai. I know Shotokan has Meikyo. It's like their version of that form. I don't like Meikyo, like, at all. I feel like it's too flowery-ized. It's Shotokanized. But learning Matsumura Rohai was a blast. So I think I probably will do that one. And then I also want to explore other branches that aren't included in Shotokan. Like the whole Sanshin family of kata from like Goju-ryu. I'd love to learn some of that. I know a couple forms from that, Sansaru and Sanshin, but I know there's a whole nother system that I'm just not even familiar with. And I'd love to analyze that as well. So that's my goal here, is just to go through every kata I can find, and from every kata break down individual techniques that can be practiced. I want to avoid anything that's like, oh, this is too dangerous just for self-defense. We're just gonna practice this in the air, or, with willing partners. Because in my opinion, guys, okay, that's completely unreasonable. It's unrealistic. Like, if you can't practice and pressure test a technique, when it comes time to use that, it's not going to be there. Anytime I've had to use self-defense, and it's been a while, like I'm 31 now. Last time I got in a fight was 11th grade of high school. But anytime I've been in a fight, okay, it's always been just like basic things that I could actually practice with the partner. That's what came to my aid. Never anything like elaborate. And I don't think things should be elaborate. Fights aren't elaborate. They're gritty and nasty. So that's why I want to find in every kata something that you can practice in real time, full contact, full pressure, or at least, close to that, and that can be repetitively done with a partner that you can then draw on with real experience. Okay, back on track now. I got a script I'm supposed to be reading. Yeah, my belief is that karate kata are meant to contain gritty, practical, and sometimes harsh techniques for proficient fighting. Not only do I believe that, I'm going to prove it best I can through this podcast series. Why is it that modern day karate has strayed so far from the original intent? And why is it that kata seems so vague and mysterious? The answer to this lies in the philosophy and the aim of its teachers. An example, Gichin Funakoshi, who you probably know as like the grandfather of modern karate, is often quoted as saying, "The ultimate aim of karate lies not in victory or defeat, but in the perfection of the characters of its participants." End quote. And it's not the perfection of character is a bad thing. Funakoshi's vision for character development has been widely received and experienced globally. But because the focus was not on the intent of preserving the old master's technique in kata, the kata themselves are widely misunderstood. You'll have world champion karate performers and point kumite fighters who, at least from what I can, view of them on the internet and whatever videos, it doesn't look like they know what they're doing. I know that like with like bunkai competition, they have a lot of restrictions on what they're allowed to do. Even so, we shouldn't be trying to teach that. Like in my Gion video, we talked about like the technique we're doing, like the high block and the low block at the same time. And I've seen that so many times, just even in like old karate books, in videos from people doing bunkai in tournaments or whatever. No, just no, stop it. Please stop. I don't think it's bad to have demonstrations, but in order for karate to be taken seriously in an age of modern combative sports, and for it to survive and not become like Aikido, which is a joke, Sorry, Aikido guys. I did Aikido. I liked it. It's got good principles. Okay? But for karate to survive and not be a laughing stock, we need to revamp and relook at how we're doing things, okay? Compare this to another karate master, Motobu Choki, who described Gichin Funakoshi's karate as being like a Japanese guitar. Beautiful to hear, but hollow on the inside, meaning that he saw what was happening to karate as it was modernized, and he didn't like the changes being made. Pretty to look at, but, on the inside, basically meaningless. The new age karate was becoming popular because it was made beautiful, it removed risk from practice, changed the emphasis to character instead of defense, and was made accessible to a wider range of people that would accept it because of these changes. You see, everything Funakoshi did wasn't bad. See, karate wouldn't have become as popular as it is now if it wasn't made accessible to more people. And I think it still should be accessible to people. But at the same time, if we're not teaching why you're doing these movements, I don't think you're doing karate. Okay? So to put this into perspective, this would be like having a beautiful library of expensive books and never reading any of them, or owning a race car and never driving. Anyone can look at a nice car or nice library and appreciate it. But looking at a car does not mean you can drive. And walking through a library doesn't mean you can read. Nowadays, people don't want to spend countless hours in the library reading. They don't want to put in the work to understand. They just want to drive by, walk through, and somehow be better for it. Karate, real karate, isn't a drive-by, walk-through type of experience. Real karate is getting thrown on the ground, getting punched in the face, suffering through endless hours of torture. And by torture, I mean conditioning. To finally achieve proficiency. Like, not black belt. Forget black belt. I hate black belt. I hate belts. Okay? Proficiency. Nowadays, people don't want to understand how the engine works, how to change the oil, why the gasoline burns or the tires turn. They just want to look at a car, maybe drive it to the end of the driveway and back. Because, heaven forbid, they drive out on the road and take a risk. And that's it right there. That's the next big issue. Time. Understanding kata takes time. Anyone can learn from the movements of kata. They can do so quickly too. But to actually understand the kata, there is something else. You have to learn why the movements exist, what the purpose of them is, and you have to know each individual technique. But more, you have to test them. There has to be pressure. You have to be able to throw, sweep, choke, punch, and kick an opponent who at the same time is doing the same to you. Read in between the lines there. Sparring, like real sparring, not consensual point or, step sparring. I'm talking about matches. Okay. And if you don't do that, if you don't know the meaning, the real intent is lost. The real technique is forgotten and it's discarded. And that right there, that's why we're here today. That's why I'm creating this podcast series. I want to show you what karate is. Now, even if you're a seasoned karate veteran, grandmaster or whatever, I want you to really ask yourself, do you know what everything is? Would you be comfortable taking a technique from your kata and trying to do that in full contact? Think about that. Because I've seen so many grandmaster, high-level black belts, and, they teach like practical defense seminars and classes and whatever. And, like even what's his name? Love the guy, Ian Abernethy. Love the guy. Don't get me wrong. Ian, if you ever watch this, I love you. You are a great man. I don't agree with everything you do, though. Like, if you're standing somewhere and you're holding a dude, like in an arm bar while you're standing. I'm sorry, dude. You're getting punched in the back of the head. They're not just going to stand there. Um, Technique. One more thing. Okay, one more thing before we go. The pressure here is on the teachers. And what I mean by that is there's like this stigma. If you're a teacher, if you're the karate sensei, the karate grandmaster, the karate whatever, dude, grand poobah, some guy back east. That's an internal joke. Anyways, if you're the guy, you have pressure on you to be the one who knows it all. And pride gets in people's ways and causes them to do stupid shit. I don't mean to be mean, okay? I've been there. I've been the teacher who's been on the floor and someone says, "What is this?" And I don't know. But what I don't do is make something up that on the spot that I think might work. Okay? And I don't want you to do that either. Instead, do this. Say, "Hey, I hadn't thought about that," or something along those lines. Be humble, please. And say, "Hey, I'll come back and tell you next week." And then grab a partner, maybe that same guy. Hopefully that same guy, because they're the one that asked. And practice it. Don't be afraid to admit that you don't know, because even the experts don't know everything, okay? You are a world-renowned physicist or chemist. Guess what? You still have a reference library that you have to look at for things. Nobody has everything memorized, and they don't know how everything's going to go. It's not the same, or it's not any different with karate. So, basically, what I want from the teachers, from you karate sensei, before you teach a kata, go through every movement and make sure that you actually understand a drill, real practical drill you can do with that movement. Teach those movements with the kata. And I'll be happy. They don't necessarily have to be what I'm teaching here. In fact, I probably hope that they wouldn't be. I shouldn't say that. I'd be honored if you use what I use. But find something that works, a drill that's practical. And by practical, I mean spar with whoever you're testing it with and let them, resist full-heartedly. Anyways, that's all I have. That's a rant. Thank you for listening. Comment. Let me know what you think. And until next time, sayonara.